Good morning, and thank you for joining us for this video service of the First Unitarian Church of Alton on the 17th day of May, 2020. I'm Peg Flack, and our speaker today is our minister, Amy Brooks. We acknowledge that we create this worship service on Illiniwek land, colonized by white Europeans through the labor of enslaved Africans. We invite you to remember the heritage of the land that holds you on this particular day. We welcome everyone to the online home of comfort, spirit, justice, and hope. We are Unitarian Universalists. We begin our worship with a prelude by our accompanist, Joy Heft.
If you have a chalice or a candle at home, I invite you to join me as I light mine. We hallow this time together by kindling the lamp of our heritage. Our opening words this morning come from Faith Rocket. This morning, we know ourselves as both deeply blessed and also as a deep blessing. We know ourselves as beloved and as vessels of that same love for others. We have received such gifts in this life that we can hardly believe it. The gift, for instance, of breath, of memory, of simple hope. And in turn, our lives are also gracious gifts, gladly received by others in ways we may not even be aware of. Let us celebrate this rich interchange going on in this room, and I would add, in all of our rooms, and in the world. And let us more fully understand how to embrace it with the purpose of allowing it to pour forth in even greater abundance. Faith Rocket also provided our prayer today. Let us be in the attitude of prayer. Source of life, source of peace. We are humbled by the beauty in this world and daunted by the suffering in it as well. In this past week, we have not always been who we said we would be, and have not always done what we said we would do. We don't claim perfection. We can't promise it either. But in the quiet of this moment, spirit of transforming love, remind us of our place and our purpose in the unfinished business in our families, our community, and in this old world. Help us understand what each of us is called to do, so that we may respond in awareness of beauty and mindful of suffering, with a vision of the beloved community in the end. Amen.
Our reading this morning is a quote from So Young Kang. Integrity stems from the Latin word integer, which means whole and complete. So integrity requires an inner sense of wholeness and consistency of character. When you are in integrity, people should be able to visibly see it through your actions, your words, decisions, methods, and outcomes. When you are whole and consistent, there's only one you. You bring that same you wherever you are, regardless of the circumstance. You don't leave parts of yourself behind. You don't have a work you, a family you, and a social you. You are you all the time. Given the real definition of integrity, we recognize that it is actually extremely difficult to be in integrity 100% of the time. We aspire to be in integrity with what we believe, but sometimes we mess up. Sometimes our emotions get the best of us, and we are unable to intentionally manage our behavior and actions. Sometimes we don't give ourselves permission to be our true selves out of fear of what others may think or due to an inability to truly integrate the various parts of ourselves into one complete whole person. So what does it take to be someone who leads with integrity? Consciousness and choice.
Good morning and welcome to what feels like week 3000 of preparing services from home. Since we're still going along with our meeting online virtually, I want to talk you through a little bit of my preparation before I record these videos. I need you to know, first of all, that my house is always impeccably tidy and clean, and I know that yours is as well. Okay, maybe I do just a little tidying of the area back here, so that the vibe it sends across is more cozy country cottage and less literally haven't cleaned in 3 years. And there's a possibility that before I started to record this video, I dragged every piece of furniture out of the dining room, swept, and mopped the entire floor. Hypothetically speaking, those are things that could have happened before I recorded this video, because of course it's very important that you all watching at home receive really good positive messages for, just my general level of cleanliness and tidiness all round. Everything is always this tidy, always this clean, just like at your house, right? I don't know, maybe some of you who have been working from home and who have been doing video meetings from home have spent a little bit of time doing a bit of tidying and cleaning of just a little window into your life. And what I really appreciated about the reading this morning was the sense it gave of integrity as being about a wholeness that is more than just a window into your life. And there were some really great thoughts about bringing our whole selves, about living your whole life in ways that speak to who you really are as a person. And that was great. I did just want to say, though, that a little bit I disagreed on one point. The reading ended with Kang saying, the two things you need for integrity are consciousness and choice. And I feel like I want to add a third thing, because as I read through it and as I think through it for myself, the thing that I think is missing is you also need a little bit of privilege. Because, friends, there's a privilege to having the time and space, the health, the whole being, the wellness, to do the work just within ourselves of understanding our own identity to begin with. And that means we need to live lives that aren't under threat, and we need to be in positions of safety where we don't have to worry that our next move might mean we don't have food or well-being or our lives. We need to have mental space and spiritual space to do that work to begin with. And secondly, we need to move in spaces. We need to live and exist in spaces where it's safe to bring our whole selves. And to be fair, the reading touched on that. But I think there is a privilege to being able to find those spaces in this world, because we know the reality is that there are some areas where some people move, where bringing the wholeness of their identity, of living with full integrity, of living that way, could mean their death. And could quite probably mean, if not their death, but at least miles and miles of suffering. And particularly, I guess I'm thinking, as a queer woman, I'm thinking of all the queer kids at home with non-affirming parents during this time. And then I'm just thinking in general of family tensions right now as a global pandemic continues and families disagree among themselves about the best way to go forward together. And then I'm thinking of my black and brown siblings, and how the idea that you can live as a whole person of integrity and just move in any space and be who you are and say what it is put upon you to say, if you interact with the wrong person, can lead to your death. So Those situations are there. And I really want to emphasize, because this is what stood out to me on this topic, on this theme this week, that just because there are some spaces where you move that you cannot bring the fullness of who you are, does not mean that your integrity is in any way diminished or damaged or broken by whatever it is you need to do to keep safe and whole. So know that I see that in you. And that really brings me to my main point when we talk about integrity. And that is that as a community, we at First Unitarian Church of Alton have made certain statements to one another, certain promises to uphold and to uplift each other. And I think this becomes really important, particularly when we know of people whose lives are less safe than ours and who need to make those decisions to be careful to keep what might risk their well-being hidden. And I don't just mean like in the same sense where I mopped my floors or tidied up all my shelves before I started this video. And when we know of those people and when we welcome them into our midst, a key part of what we do together as a congregation is to hold space for the fullness of each other, even knowing that sometimes outside of our presence, we have to keep a little of ourselves back. And sometimes, and this is hard to say, sometimes even moving in Unitarian Universalist circles, we don't always make the space available for people to bring the fullness of themselves. And I really want, as a movement, that we can work more fully into making safe and brave spaces for all people to be affirmed in the fullness of their identity. And in the meantime, what I think is really powerful and important, particularly as in the next few weeks, we're moving into June and we're moving into Pride Month. And Pride Month is going to look different to how it has done in decades. It's going to feel different. Instead of taking to the streets, we're going to need to take to the internet in new ways and to hold space for and support and care for each other and all of our beautiful identities. As we go into the weeks that come ahead, everything that faces us, all the uncertainty, all the anxiety, I really want to encourage all of us not just to find space and find time to look into your whole life, the wholeness of who you are, but more than that, to be aware of the people around you who need or who would just like it if you could hold space for them to do that same work, and hold brave spaces where vulnerable people can bring the fullness of who they are, so that more and more of us can live integral, whole, and complete lives for our whole lives long. So those are my thoughts on this topic for this week. I really trust that you are keeping well and making wise choices and taking care of each other wherever you find yourselves. And I look forward to seeing you online and one day in person soon. Amen.
We offer the gentle reminder that this community of faith is supported only by your giving. We need each other, and in times of trial, we need each other even more. You can mail your gift to the First Unitarian Church, Post Office Box 494, Alton, Illinois 62002. Or you can give electronically by searching for the First Unitarian Church of Alton on the Givelify app or via the link on our webpage. Give what you will, for you are a generous people. If you know it, please join with me in our offering prayer. May this offering equip us to inspire love and seek justice.
When we gathered together in person back in the ordinary times, this is where we would pause and share our thoughts about the message of the day or the theme of the month. But these are extraordinary times. So I invite you to take a pause for reflection right where you are now. Thinking about the service today, what was helpful? What was hard? What sparked inspiration? And thinking about the theme of May, integrity, what are the situations where you struggle to bring your whole self? You might like to make a few notes or create something artistic or just stay with your thoughts. Feel free to pause the video if you like, or you might choose to reflect through the next piece of music.
I hope that time of reflection was fruitful for you. Perhaps you will share the fruits of your labor with someone significant to you. Also, I invite you to post your thoughts in the comments of this video. If you haven't done so already, go ahead and subscribe to our YouTube channel while you're here. Here are our announcements for the week. Please contact the church office if you have an event or an announcement that you would like for us to share on our weekly Church This Week email. If you're interested in receiving our weekly email, please contact us at church@firstualton.org. And remember to join us next week for our virtual service here on YouTube. Tracy and John will be leading us in worship on May 24th.
And now, if you have a lit chalice or a candle near you, I invite you to join me in extinguishing the chalice. The light of truth and meaning cannot be put out. We are keepers of this flame until we meet again. In the meantime, receive these closing words. Bless the world with the depth of yourself, with your truth and your love. Be what people have hoped for in every act and every deed, every day that you live. Go in peace.